So again, hi everybody, I'm Brittany and welcome to our new 3-part series on journaling. Today we're going to be covering why and how journaling can change your life and a whole bunch of ways to start. And I just want to give sort of a blanket statement for anyone here that's sort of wondering, is this for me? I don't consider myself a writer, or maybe you're afraid of the blank page. All of those are completely valid concerns and fears. But even if you have no idea what to say, or you're just making bulleted lists, it will make you feel better. Putting pen to paper will make you feel better. So that's my blanket statement, and I think that that's incredible. But beyond that, and what we're going to sort of do a deep dive into today, is that journaling can make you happier and more creative and more productive. Yes, even if you've never written before or you have no idea how to construct a quote unquote beautiful sentence, this is a practice for you too. So we're going to start with page 1 of our workbook. If you haven't printed it out yet, totally fine. Just grab a blank piece of paper. It doesn't have to have lines. Don't overthink this. Just grab a piece of paper that's handy and follow along here. But for the writers and the journalists that are following potentially today, you're probably very familiar with the 5 W's of writing, which is kind of the basic questions that a writer should be able to ask and answer when you're writing a story. So the who, what, when, where, and why of the story. Well, since this is a class on writing and journaling, I thought it'd be fun to sort of change up the order of the 5 W's and use these as a way to talk about journaling, who it's for, why it's so impactful, what you can write about, where you'll be writing your entries in, and what the best tools are for doing so, when the best time to write is, and how to kind of build that into your routine. And then lastly, which is where you're going to be following some guided prompts. It's sort of how to get started with your journaling practice, or how to sort of reinvent your journaling practice if you've been doing it for a while and you're just looking for some new inspiration and things that have worked for me over the last few decades that I've been journaling. So I want to be very clear that a journal is for you and you alone. So the journaling we're talking about today is for you and only you. So for those that have taken my calligraphy classes in the past, you're going to see my real handwriting and how it is a fact that I say that your actual handwriting is of no indication if you'll be good or not at calligraphy, because my actual handwriting looks nothing like the beautiful script that I can create with some of those basic strokes. So if you're in the same boat, don't judge yourself. We're writing in our own handwriting. We're writing bulleted lists, and that's how we're easing into this today. So even if you're a writer and sort of this is what you do for a living, or if you adamantly don't consider yourself a writer, and the idea of filling a blank page seems super intimidating, writing in a journal has the same benefits because it's for you and it's for you alone. So you might get some ideas while you're writing here and there that turn into something awesome, but what you write in a journal, often a lot of it will never see the light of day, and that's kind of the point. You're developing your own voice. So that's really important when we think about journaling and who it's for, is you're really developing your own voice and you're developing your inner voice. And it might actually surprise you to notice that your inner voice might be different than how you speak to others. And so I think it's really fascinating when you sort of have a history of journaling to look back on, that you see how your inner voice changes as the days and the months and the years of your life progress. And that's pretty incredible. And again, we're only writing for ourselves, so we're not writing for an audience. Not writing for an audience. So this is really important to think about as you're writing, that you don't want to be thinking that others are going to read these words while you're writing. Even if, you might have this morbid fear that somebody's going to find your journals when you're no longer here, and won't it be so embarrassing that they read these words? You can't have that in your head when you're writing in a journal, because it'll prevent you from discovering that inner voice and being your true self. So you're not writing perfect sentences. You're not writing for an audience. Your goal is simply to express, not to impress. So if you've taken my classes before, I love a mantra, something that you can remember that's hopefully replaying in your mind after each class. So that was it. And I'll say it again. You want to write to express, not to impress. So let's write that down. Express, don't impress. So I am a perfectionist. I can admit that at this point in my life. And if you also tend to have those tendencies, journaling is so good for that because you get to be your inner best self or your inner worst self. So I also want you to say no to your inner critic, sometimes called your censor, your filter. I just want you to say no to your inner critic. The critic that kind of, as you're writing, says, oh, your writing sucks, or you don't have anything important to say, or you keep complaining about the same things. All of those are completely okay things to do in your journal. The pages are for your eyes only. So this is probably one of the only places in your life you get to be your weirdest self, your most curious self, your most ambitious and eager self. No one is judging you here. So again, don't worry about others reading or filtering yourself. And what's really awesome is that even if you write your thoughts down on like a loose leaf sheet of paper and then just immediately tear it up or burn it, it actually still reduces your cognitive load. So it still gets, this never-ending to-do list out of your brain and onto paper and allows you to kind of get through your day without that slowing you down. And that's the ultimate benefit. So hopefully you're able to jot down some version of that on your sheets. Again, don't feel like you have to write exactly what I'm saying. I would actually love for you to sort of just listen to what I'm saying and write what resonates with you on your bulleted list, because that is what it's actually going to stick with you most after today's class. So the next W is why. So what's the point of journaling? So now we're going to get into some of the benefits of journaling. And again, I want you to write down everything I'm saying that resonates with you. So the first benefit is that we're just very good at trapping things in our minds. And there's sort of this myth that if we talk about things, it'll either bring them to fruition or make them worse. And that is absolutely not true. It actually is a relief. And like I said, reduces your cognitive load to get it off your mind. So trapped mind. Again, hopefully that jogs your memory on what I just said. And especially when you're going through a difficult time, writing can literally take what can feel like a tornado in your brain and release it onto the paper. So you're releasing your trapped mind, you're releasing your thoughts and emotions. It helps you analyze and reflect on the past. Plan for the future, find out what your values are and what your views are through discovering that inner voice. And one of my favorites is that it helps you discover your patterns. So I mentioned that I just found all of my old journals, and reading through those pages recently, I realized that I was having the same thought patterns about very specific things in my life since I was a teenager. I mean, I've grown, of course, in so many ways, and reading my journals made me feel very proud of that. But I also was able to identify a lot of patterns that I wouldn't have seen if I didn't keep a journal for that many years. So you can also notice how much you've grown. So growth, you can feel a sense of pride in that growth, and it sharpens your memory. So again, if you are afraid of kind of everything you ever know just suddenly going away, it is great to also have a journal to just sort of recount the things in your life that matter, because we obviously can't, hold on to unlimited amounts of memories. And I've run out of space here, so I'm just going to go on the top because this one bears writing down. But journaling frequently, so frequent journaling or regular journaling, that doesn't have to mean, 20 minutes a day, even if it was just one line a day, can help reduce stress and anxiety. So I'm going to write that prescriptively, reduce stress and anxiety, because I think it's super important. And like if you've taken some of my mindfulness classes, it is a form of meditation to just focus on the page and to focus on one thing for an extended period of time. So our next W is what you should write about. And what you write about is way less important than why you're doing it. There are no rules. So there are no rules. You can dump out absolutely anything that comes to mind. But for those who are afraid of the blank page, which I totally understand, I like to break down journaling into two categories and look for prompts or questions to guide your writing in both of those categories. So we're going to look at lots of those on the next page. But the categories are expressive journaling, and that's sort of like self-reflective, to get something off your chest, maybe to clarify your thoughts and emotions. And then you have productive. So again, we're going to talk about these in a moment here, so I won't go into too much detail, but productive writing is more like solution and goal-oriented writing. It's preparing for the day ahead or reviewing days that have passed to kind of find out what you learned or what you can do differently. So again, what you can write about is absolutely limitless. There are no rules, but I like to break it down into these two categories and look for guided prompts to help kind of get me going in either of these categories. The tools that you write with can actually change your experience of journaling. I started writing with my Mont Blanc rollerball pen that I'm using here and my Mont Blanc notebook the last 2 years, and it actually made me fall even more in love with the process of journaling. And when I switched to my favorite fountain pen every once in a while, so this is my rose gold Meisterstück, that makes it feel even more like a sensory experience. So I actually hear the nib on the page and you get even more immersed in the process. So when you're thinking about what sort of writing instruments you want to use or what journals you want to pick out, the first is to pay attention to the size of your notebook. So for example, this is like a standard size lined notebook. Again, this is what I would gravitate towards, standard size lined notebook. But if you're the type of person that likes to integrate art as well as drawing in your notebooks, you could go for, one of these really big sketchbooks that you could integrate your art and your writing into. So I might be able to write potentially like a journal entry up here above my drawing or down here. You can also get the squared paper as well. And I know our Mont Blanc team, a lot of team members prefer to write on this squared grid paper. There's also a dotted notebook paper that we're going to be using for the bullet journaling class coming up next month. I would just encourage you to think about your particular experience. Try out maybe a few things in the boutique to just see what feels good for you, because ultimately you want your journaling practice to feel good. And so you want to choose your tools. Choose tools with intent is what I would leave you with there. And I would say lines, dots, grid, writing instrument experience. So that was, with the fountain pen, you get a little bit more of that artistic experience, a little bit more expression. I just love the consistency of the rollerball as well for when I write on a daily basis. So keep that in mind. A lot of people ask me, what about digital journaling? Like, what if I only write on my phone? It's better than nothing, but I always say it's good to limit screen time overall. So any chance you can get to get off your phone or get off your computer and really put pen to paper is going to be beneficial, I think. And because I said I would show you the cover of some of my original journals as we're talking about tools, I just want to show you that I did not start with my fancy journaling materials. This was my first journal at age 10. And so I don't know if any of you can relate to the beauty of using masking tape and markers to decorate your journals, but that is one example. I used to, just cover them with stickers. These are some of my journals from when I was in high school. And then just a really cute example of how my family supported me in my writing growing up. My grandma got me this journal with this little note that says, "Brittany, your goals are great, so is your mind. I know you will succeed if you take your time. A little book in which you can write down your thoughts, ideas, and poems for me." And I just think that was a perfect way to sort of succinct how I approach my journaling practice even to this day. Thoughts, ideas, and poems. I tend to still do a lot of that. So again, choose the materials that will sort of improve your experience, but know that it's not going to be the make or break. And the most important thing is that you're just putting words on paper and remembering that there's no one right way. Now we get into the next W, which is, when should I journal? Is there a right time to journal? So again, these are guidelines, not rules. But it's proven that if you boost your mood in the morning by journaling, it actually improves your productivity all day long. So I recommend journaling in the morning and in the evening, if you can, after your day is done, to just do sort of an evening reflection of sorts. But really, it's just as frequently as you can. So if that just means one sentence every morning, or if it means one sentence in the evening, then you'll get the most out of this practice if you do it frequently. And then I also recommend attaching it to an existing habit. So that practice is called habit stacking. So that means if you already have a coffee in the morning, maybe you could tack on 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes to your day to be able to accomplish this new journaling practice that you want to set up. For how long should I be writing for? How long should I journal? What is the optimal amount of time to get the most benefit out of it? So we'll go over to this how category here for just a minute. And again, I want to say remove all barriers to getting into the journaling practice. So I would actually recommend setting a timer or a page count limit. So set a timer or page count limit. So that might be 5 to 10 minutes. Or for me, I do 3 pages every morning of sort of this stream of consciousness free writing, which is something I'll define in the next few minutes as we get into our exercises here. So again, for how long you write is less important than just getting it down. So the act of just getting what's in your mind onto paper is the most important thing. But these are just some tools and things that I've learned over the years to kind of set you up for success. Maybe set up a little ritual for yourself. So I always recommend getting yourself centered, maybe doing some of the breathing exercises. Lists are okay. So there's like such a misconception that you just need to write these beautiful sentences. But if all you're doing in your journal is just listing things, which we'll talk about in a minute here, that is okay. You're still writing. We are sort of clear on the distinction between expressive and productive writing. Some of you might be leaning super heavily to the expressive side, while some of you might really want to go straight to the productive side if you want to write to sort of improve your career prospects or the business that you're running and you're trying to get over sort of a creative hurdle or a block. There's obviously a ton of crossover between the two, but I just want to be clear that you can journal as a form of self-expression and or you can journal to advance your career or to accomplish your goals and to track your progress. There's no one right way, but these are just my favorites. So I want to go through this list, and it started as 6 ways to start journaling, which you probably saw in the title of this class, but it turned into 8 because I'm sure I could have a list of 20. Let's start with the 8, and then we will do sort of a dive into a few of those in the coming pages here. So under expressive journaling are things like gratitude journaling, free writing, mindfulness art journaling, and lastly, travel journaling. Then we move over to the productive side, and here we have planning and goal setting journaling. We have habit tracking, idea journals, and then lastly, bullet journaling. So I wanted to provide some guidance here and just give you a jumping off point to kind of eliminate that fear of the blank page that I was talking about that plagues so many of us. So let's start with our page on gratitude journaling, which is under that expressive category of journaling. So this is one of my personal favorites. I start every day by writing down 3 things I'm grateful for and 3 things I want to let go of. And sometimes, like this morning, I didn't have a lot of time this morning, but it is so much a part of my day and a part of my mental health, truly, that I make sure that I at least do something. I'm trying to get over that all or nothing mentality, and journaling really helps with that because even if you don't have time for 10 pages, nobody knows that but you. So I feel like this is a really good segue to our next prompt, which is on free writing. Because I think free writing is just a really good way to just release, whether it's your thoughts and emotions. If you woke up feeling super angry one day, as an example, writing in your journal is really going to help you unpack that. Maybe not in the moment, but it's just going to be something that is at the very least going to make you feel better for not having it all stuck and trapped in your mind. I want to exercise here, and hopefully you're able to kind of get some good ideas for your free writing. Now we're moving into more of the productive journaling space. So again, for those of you who validly are feeling a little bit intimidated by just sharing your thoughts or your feelings or sort of unearthing different things that may have happened in your past, I totally get that. I think that there's value 100% in exploring those thoughts, but there's the whole other side of journaling that you can start here. You can weave this in that I think is equally as important. So I have some examples here that I read out loud because I think that they're really important, and I'll kind of just highlight that they're broken up into daily, weekly, and monthly and future focus goals. So kind of on a daily basis, And this is actually what I do from a business perspective. So once I get sort of my expressive writing out in my journal, I do have a separate journal, my bullet journal, where I kind of jot down my business ideas and I write down what my top 3 projects of the day are. So I wrote this at the bottom in italics, but it's proven that you get more done when you focus on less. So we all have 100 things that you could put on your to-do list every day. But what are the 3 things that you could be proud of every day if you got those done? That's what you want to write down. What are the top 3 projects of my day that I really need to get to in order to end the day feeling accomplished? And then my most important task is. I just want to say what a pleasure it has been to share my first love with you today. And I hope you're inspired to just learn and uncover your own voice and really trust that your voice and your words carry so much of your story and can help you move forward in life in a way that maybe you hadn't seen before. Thank you so much, everyone, for being here with me today.